Well, famous old line, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Middle of the night, can't sleep. Been reviewing a big old 2-inch thick booklet of clippings from the newspaper during the 7 years in the San Luis Valley, and trying to make some sense out of the comparison of the times in the late 60s, early 70s. Went to Alamosa in 1969, so those dates are pertinent to being in Alamosa to some degree. I'd been in Evergreen before I went up to Sheridan, Wyoming, and felt like, and I think the people felt like, I did a really, really good job of getting Evergreen Junior High on a solid footing as an excellent junior high program when I inherited it in 62, 63. We had a little work to do. As a member of the Kiwanis Club in Evergreen, one day I was there when the headline was on the local news and the Denver news and the national news that a sit-in was going on by students, the radical edge of the students, in CU to take over the administration building in protest of the Vietnam War and of the ROTC program there. People were at least as divided about the Vietnam War, or maybe not at least, but certainly they were divided about the Vietnam War just like we're divided now about the Iraq War. Well, went to Rotary, or not Rotary, to Kiwanis Club, and boy, I'm telling you, the right-wing members of the club were in arms. The police should be using fire hoses, should shoot a few, drag them off, whatever, but they shouldn't be allowing those students to protest by interrupting the good business at the college. That was a good point there. But there's also a good point that when you have a government that's got you into a mess that you can't tolerate, there must be some way to practice saying, hey, 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 I don't like this. We don't like this. We want it to be clear we don't like this. But of course, there's a lot of that sort of thing going around today, too. But on March the 2nd, the headline in the local paper said, ROT facility bombed at CU. On March the 3rd, the headline said, Boulder police car is hit by bombing. And a little later on the page it says, violence in the South, mob overturns school buses. That rang the bell. Can't remember if it was just before this or after this, but in Denver, where desegregation orders said that they had to integrate some black kids into white schools, there was a bombing of the school bus lot, destroyed and damaged many, many buses. That's, I think, on a separate one, and if it's not, it'll get there one of these days, a separate YouTube thing. Well, anyway, lots of things were going on. It was a time of conflict in our nation, and it caused conflict in families and in communities, and you know, people kind of took sides on the thing, just like they're taking sides today on the Iraq War. And you know, you get something like that going, people take a strong position on one side or the other. They're kind of like the hillbillies that were having a church fight, and one hillbilly said to the other one, which side of the fight are you on? The fellow said, well, I haven't decided, but when I decide, I'm going to be bitter. Well, we got some bitter folks today, and we had some bitter folks back there in the 69 and 70s. And I guess my feelings today are a lot like they were back there in Evergreen at the Kiwanis Club. I finally spoke up. Got afraid to. You're an official in an official position as a school principal or school superintendent, and people judge you by where you stand on things. So I finally said, fellas, I want you to know something. I've got a boy on active duty. I was in the Army twice myself. I expect that boy to do as I expected myself to do. Follow every order given to him, and without question. He took the oath just like I took the oath, and you follow it. But I want you to know that if he was not in the service and was up there at CU and was in that sit-in, I would back him just as much there as I back him right where he is, as a sailor who does what he's told. And if he gives up his life, he gives up his life. But if he was a student and felt this thing is wrong and was protesting, I raised what I think's a good boy, and I'd be just as proud of him there as I am of him where he is, as a serving soldier, sailor. Particularly distressing was the article that dealt with the mob down there in Lamar, South Carolina, where the integration was so resented that the mob stopped the 2 school buses, turned them over with the black children in the buses, and when the highway patrol sent a group of highway patrolmen down, the mob fought the representatives of their government, the highway patrol, using axe handles, chains, and bricks. Authorities said the mob of about 150 white men and women tried to attack the Negro children as they got out of the buses. We are sure ordinary people that can be like the guy that was going to be bitter once he decided which side of the argument he was going to be on. Here these people were going to attack innocent little kids that are just caught in the middle of a conflict. And the police had to use tear gas to disperse that crowd, stop them from harming those little kids. Man, we're not a whole lot better than the people of any other country when we get upset.